9:01 a.m. Eastern. The House Oversight Chamber holds its breath. Reporters cram the aisles, lenses glitter, cables coil under polished benches like restless snakes, and every feed still running senses a live tremor. Through the double doors walks Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, heels clicking a steady war drum cadence that cuts through the chatter. She carries a folder the shade of arterial red, and across the cover 3 handwritten words scream in thick black marker. Sealed, 2006. The color jolts the eye the way a flare shreds night. Fox News yanks an ad break early. Rival networks whisper that something serious just stepped onto the floor. Crockett never glances at Donald Trump, seated squarely at the witness table with his arms crossed and a smirk recruited for television. She sets the folder down with deliberate care, as if placing explosives in the open, then leans toward the mic. The voiceover floats above the hush. Jasmine knows that sometimes the smallest object in the room is the biggest weapon, and today it has paper pages for shrapnel. The chairman bangs his gavel, ordering civility, but the vibration only deepens the silence. Now the hush seems to breathe, thick and alive. Crockett remains standing, hand on the red folder. She does not blink. She slides the dossier forward, the cardboard rasp echoing like metal on marble. Trump mutters political theater. Yet the microphone betrays him. Crockett's voice barely rises above a whisper as she asks permission to unseal one name. The request hovers, weightless and heavier than stone. 10 seconds crawl by, each tick amplified across live streams. When the chairman finally grants the motion, the voiceover notes that history often pivots on a single bored syllable. Granted. Cameras tilt. Oxygen thins. Millions lean closer, wondering if they are watching careers end or a new era begin. Nobody checks a phone. Nobody coughs. Every heartbeat becomes percussion for the instant a secret is invited into daylight. From the balcony, an intern clamps both hands over her mouth, sensing that something irreversible just slipped its cage. Crockett sits at last, opens the red folder with a bomb technician's patience, revealing a lone ivory envelope sealed with dull wax. The cameras zoom so close the paper grain looks like lunar craters. The voiceover reminds us that secrets weigh nothing in the hand but continents on the conscience. A producer in New York throws up a flashing cheer-in. Breaking. Congressional unsealing of Epstein name. Crockett breaks the seal. The envelope exhales as if relieved to be heard. She withdraws a single sheet, crisp, almost translucent, the kind of stationery rich donors use when they want their words to look lighter than air. Her fingertips tremble not at all. She lays the document flat beneath overhead lights, lifts her eyes, and announces that silence has never protected children. It only armored predators. At that line, social feeds spike. The phrase becomes instant hashtag. 1,000 court observers tilt forward as one, sensing that a long-kept poison is about to find daylight. In the control booth, an engineer whispers, "We're about to break the internet," unaware his mic is still live. Then, in a voice steadier than courthouse granite, Crockett reads the name, Bradley T. Kushner. For syllables detonate like a flashbang. The witness table seems to shrink. A digital timestamp locks to the lower third, 9:01 and 12 seconds a.m., memorializing the exact second Donald Trump stops moving. His smile fossilizes, eyes narrowing as though light suddenly burns. The voiceover states that power becomes most visible when it is cornered by truth. Split screens bloom across every network. Anchors gasp, lawyers scrawl notes, risk managers text furious instructions. In boardrooms, email servers groan under emergency threads titled simply, Kushner. The sheet of paper is propped upright on a small easel so no one can claim they misheard. Overhead, gallery spectators clutch railings. Somewhere a phone clatters to the floor, but no one retrieves it. Cushioned chairs creak like old ships in hard seas, and for a heartbeat the nation focuses on nothing but ink, paper, and a president who suddenly looks very far from home. Even stock market tickers hesitate, decimals hiccuping as algorithms try to price a moral earthquake in real time. The voiceover sweeps us into a rapid-fire timeline, dates and dollars hammering like a drumline. February 8, 2002. A Gulfstream 4 leaves Palm Beach for Washington. Manifest signed by Kushner. 2 minors listed under guest codes. July 23, 2003. $250,000 slides into Spring Forward Initiative, a charity registered to a Delaware storage locker. October 15, 2004. 1.1 million exits Spring Forward and reappears in Palm Beach Youth Outreach, where Jeffrey Epstein signs as treasurer on an IRS form that later vanishes from federal archives. Crockett narrates each point without raising her voice, letting facts do the shouting. The voiceover reflects that Kushner was not an attendee. He was the architect, the travel agent of secrecy. Trump's fingers twitch, measuring distances to water, to counsel, to any exit that doesn't look like flight. Reporters type so fast their keyboards rattle like cicadas. The room realizes patterns have replaced coincidence, and patterns demand consequences. Every data point appears on towering monitors, arrows and red circles glowing like fresh bruises, erasing any wishful fog left around the name just spoken. Next, the lights dim and a grainy 2004 surveillance clip fills wall-size screens. Epstein lounges, glass in hand, murmuring, "Brad handles the freshmen. I handle the clients." The audio crackles, but the intent is crystalline. The voiceover notes that when the dead speak on tape, living alibis combust. Crockett pauses the video, zooms on a flight ledger where the initials DT sit beside the word comped. Free ride. No trace. Gasps ripple like wind across wheat. Online, the clip is already trimmed, captioned, and viewed 1,000,000 times. The narrator questions why depravity offers discounts to power but leaves the answer hanging like a noose. Trump blinks twice, jaw flexing as if chewing gravel. Inside the hearing room, the air feels refrigerated, yet sweat slides down spines. The screen freezes on the ledger. The courtroom becomes a gallery of statues, each face reflecting either recognition or dread. A producer in the hallway collapses against the wall, whispering that they just captured the shot of the decade, though no one knows which decade he now means. Doors open again and Clara Reyes enters, mid-20s, spine straight as the folders crease. The gallery leans in as though the room itself tilts toward her. The voiceover introduces her father, Miguel, a journalist who dissolved into rumor after printing one Epstein article in 2007. Clara holds a faded document, Kushner's name circled 3 times in angry pen strokes. She sets it gently beside the easel, and Crockett tells the chamber that every vanished reporter leaves an unfinished sentence, and today a daughter intends to finish it. Clara speaks softly about attic boxes, dust, and a note that read, "Keep safe until someone listens." As she speaks, the monitors display her father's byline followed by a headline that once ran page A14 and now feels like prophecy. Cameras catch tears balancing on lashes but refusing to fall. A private storm managed in public view. The voiceover says scandals are measured in tears no one saw and stories no one printed, and both debts just walked into the light. A digital timeline unfurls across the screens. July 12, 2007. Miguel emails his editor, list coming from inside. 2 weeks later, his phone pings a cell tower one last time and then silence. July 30, 2007. The Department of Homeland Security awards $46 million to K-Secure Logistics, CEO Bradley T. Kushner. The voiceover stitches the dates together like threads of the same fabric, showing cause concealed in coincidence. An animation overlays the timeline, pulses turning blood red at each intersection of money and disappearance. You can almost hear collective throats tighten. Crockett narrates that contracts can buy silence but never erase fingerprints. In law offices nationwide, partners text junior associates to pull every file on K-Secure immediately. In diners, people turn the volume up instead of down. The timeline ends, but the implication keeps scrolling in every mind present. Remove a truth teller, receive a government contract. The exchange rate of corruption published at last. Even the marble columns seem to lean away, as though the building itself recoils from the arithmetic of disappearance. Now the screens populate with columns and decimals, the sterile language of finance suddenly indecent. Freedom Tomorrow Foundation appears, highlighted in electric yellow. Crockett explains that $3.4 million ricocheted through 7 shell entities, Liberty Anchor, Heritage Horizon, Coastal Dawn, and more, before landing in Mar-a-Lago Executive Events, LLC. The voiceover reminds viewers that money has memory. It never forgets whose hands carried it. Arrows trace routes across the map: Tortola, Cyprus, Isle of Man, Miami. Each arrow pulses like a heartbeat, sinking the audience to a darker circulatory system. Crockett asks aloud whether the former president was hosting charity or purchasing silence. The question hangs unanswered, but its echo sounds like a verdict. Analysts watching from Wall Street mark the exact moment hospitality stocks dip. The evidence board glows brighter than the chamber lights, and for the first time many in the room realize spreadsheets can howl. A clerk drops a stapler. The clatter ricochets like gunfire, and several dignitaries flinch, surprised that guilt can sound like office supplies hitting tile. The pressure finally ruptures. Donald Trump rises, voice booming that the hearing is a disgusting witch hunt, a parade of forged junk. Yet the voiceover overlays his fury with the freeze frame of 9:01 and 12 seconds a.m., the moment his body confessed before his mouth could object. The replay loops side by side with his current tirade, a silent witness mocking every syllable he now spends. Audience phones capture both screens and his red face. Within seconds, the clip trends under hashtag the 12-second freeze. Crockett stands untouched by the storm, reminding him calmly that his own stillness betrayed him. The room buzzes with the low current of schadenfreude, but beneath it hums something closer to mourning, of illusions, of innocence, of willful ignorance. The voiceover notes that bluster stripped of narrative control is just panic turned up to maximum volume, and the decibels cannot drown timestamps. Even the stenographer pauses, fingers hovering above keys, as if punctuation itself must wait for the fallout. Somewhere behind the witness rail, a spectator whispers, "We're watching history screw itself back together. The phrase will go viral before lunch." Crockett produces a plastic evidence sleeve containing shredded beige scraps reassembled like archaeological pottery. She slides the reconstructed memo under a document camera. Maintain optics. Kushner handles intake. Confirm DT free of expense. The signature, D. Trump, glows under ultraviolet verification. The voiceover comments that paper may tear but ink is forever. Dissolve the page and the molecules still remember. A collective inhale sweeps the gallery, the kind shared by crowds when tightropes tremble. Trump's shoulders sag millimeters, enough for every telephoto lens to capture the torque of fatigue. In the hallway, aides argue over whether to prepare a statement or an ambulance. Within the chamber, only the quiet click of a camera shutter acknowledges the memo's entry into the permanent record. For a moment, history feels like it could be printed on rice paper. Fragile, edible, undeniable. The voiceover adds that when an empire's commands fit on a half-torn sheet, it is not the size of the order that matters but the breadth of obedience it expected, and may no longer command. The chairman's mask of procedure cracks. He clears his throat, eyes darting like a metronome gone wild, then admits into the hot mic that a special prosecutor may be necessary. The voiceover announces that when a referee calls for backup, the game has moved leagues. Staffers scramble. One whispers, "God help us." Unaware her headset remains live. That prayer ricochets across national feeds, an accidental anthem for accountability. Television pundits who practice partisan spin all morning now look suddenly underdressed for reality. Crockett folds her hands, gaze fixed on the red folder as though it holds more names willing to speak. The silence regrows, not the earlier hush of anticipation, but the sober vacuum that follows a detonated truth. Even the fluorescent lights seem to dim, as if the building itself lowers its voice out of respect for whatever must come next. Outside on the Capitol steps, reporters feel phones vibrate with news alerts they just created. There is no lag between cause and consequence now. Double doors open once more and Alicia Martinez steps forward. Early 30s, survivor courage woven into posture. The voiceover explains she was 15 when Kushner called her a project, not a person. And today she upgrades herself to witness. Her calm retelling of flights, rooms, and threats turns raw data into living brews. Each syllable lands like gravel on glass. The gallery cannot blink fast enough. Tears come anyway. The narrator notes that survivors do not speak, they detonate. As Alicia utters the sentence, "I still hear the elevator ding," the chamber hears it too, a ghostly chime that redraws the room into memory. Trauma becomes architecture and everyone is suddenly inside it. When she steps back, the carpet seems scorched where she stood, as if testimony left heat marks. Camera operators refocus, suddenly protective, as though clarity itself could serve as body armor. The voiceover reminds viewers that courage is contagious. Social metrics show heartbeat emojis replacing laugh tracks in real time. Crockett cues a spreadsheet titled Legacy Offset Payments. Columns ripple across the screens, each row a payout to quiet misery. Jane D., Alicia M., Clara R. The numbers measure therapy bills, relocation costs, silenced dreams. The voiceover says hush money is the currency of postponed justice. Summing the totals, Crockett declares that each dollar didn't just buy silence, it tried to purchase amnesia. But memories charge interest. In the back row, a congressional aide covers his mouth as if stifling nausea. On Wall Street trading desks, analysts snapshot the screen, mapping risk to every client who ever shared a board with the names glowing here. For a heartbeat, the hearing feels less like oversight and more like collective confession. A nation accounting for what it chose not to notice. The voiceover hammers that spreadsheets can serve as gravestones when institutions refuse real markers. In living rooms, parents pause breakfast, explaining to children why some adults need money to stay quiet. Lessons they hope to avoid but now refuse to delay. Suddenly Trump stands again, suit jacket flaring like a black flag signaling retreat. The martial detail glides between him and the exit without touching their holsters. The choreography is enough. The voiceover observes that power always tests the doors before confession. Trump's eyes flick from badge to camera to crimson folder, tallying possibilities, finding none. He sinks back down, gravity now an accomplice. Crockett states for the transcript that the former president attempted to leave at 10:14 a.m. while under sworn testimony. The words land like iron filings, drawn to every magnetic headline in the nation. Social platforms splice his aborted exit with his old rally promise. "I alone can fix it," captioning the mashup. But he could not leave. The narrator quips that irony travels faster than private jets. And this one just broke the sound barrier. A law student streaming the feed whispers, "We just watched accountability grow legs." And screens across dorm rooms light with agreement. Crockett returns to the folder, peels away thick black redaction strips like bandages from an old wound. Under the first strip, C. Maxwell. Under the second, Kushner, B. The chamber exhales in one jagged wave. The voiceover states that secrets expire, and UV light merely speeds the rot. Crockett moves that the names enter the permanent congressional record, unsealed, unredacted, undeniable. The chairman gavels approval, and the clerk stamps the pages while camera shutters pop like fireworks made of ice. For a moment the republic feels transparent, translucent, like sunlight through a glass flag. In commentary booths, pundits stare, scripts forgotten. They are witnessing the script now, and it is writing itself in real time. The voiceover reminds viewers that when truth finally clears its throat, entire industries of false comfort can collapse overnight. On social media, seals break wide. Doctors name abusers, interns name gatekeepers, and collective silence becomes a casualty of contact tracing. Each revelation leading to the next, unstoppable as dominoes designed to stand but secretly hinged to fall. Facing the main camera, Crockett delivers her closing words. She says this was never just about Epstein. It was about everyone who fed his winters, laundered his summers, and kept his calendar clear for harm. The voiceover describes her voice as steady, simple, sharp, landing like a gavel on every living room coffee table. She tells viewers one girl, one name, one moment can stop the national pretending. She invites them to decide whether they will share the truth or shelter the lie, promising history will remember which side of the clique they chose. The narrator adds that she chooses the fuse, not the ribbon. The difference is whether a story decorates or detonates. Surge protectors glow as millions plug in devices, preparing to do something, though few yet know exactly what. But readiness itself is a form of revolution. A mathematician tweets a simple equation: outcry multiplied by action equals change, and watches the retweets climb like stacked amplifiers feeding a single, growing roar. The camera lingers on the abandoned red folder, pages fluttering in the gentle churn of ventilation. Clara and Alicia flank Crockett as they walk the aisle, their silhouettes threaded together by overlapping press lights that strobe like dawn inside a building too long on night shift. The voiceover says justice never asked for permission, only for company, and today she found 3 escorts and millions more online. Outside, crowds coagulate on the National Mall, phone screens shimmering like embers preparing to leap into flame. Helicopters trace slow circles, recording history writing itself in human footnotes. The narrator urges every watcher to turn anger into action. Call, march, vote, protect. Because if daylight can reach this room, it can infiltrate every secret still hiding elsewhere. The feed fades to black over hashtag banners and hotline numbers, but viewers keep staring as if expecting the folder to open again, and maybe somewhere, in someone's basement archive, the next folder already has.